In the quiet spaces between our triumphs and our struggles, there lies a deeper rhythm, a hidden current carrying us forward, even when we cannot see the shore. Every detour, every delay, every silence is not an interruption, but a note in the vast symphony of existence. We are not separate from this music. We are its instruments, its echo, its living resonance. To focus is not merely to narrow your sight. It is to awaken to the miracle of your place in this design. To value yourself is to recognize that the thread you carry is essential to the tapestry of all life, that without your presence something eternal would be missing. Perhaps the storms were not meant to break you, but to remind you of your strength. Perhaps the stillness was not emptiness, but an invitation to listen. And when you listen deeply enough, you realize your journey is not random. It is the universe remembering itself through you. Imagine for a moment that life is not random. Imagine that everything you've lived through, the heartbreaks, the victories, the restless nights, the quiet mornings, all of it is part of something far larger than what you can see. We're often taught to look at life in fragments, to separate our wins from our losses, our joy from our pain, as if they were disconnected events scattered along a timeline. But what if they were never disconnected? What if they were movements in a single, unbroken composition, a symphony where even the dissonant notes create tension only to resolve into harmony? When we focus, we begin to hear this music. We realize the silence we once despised is not a void, but the pause between chords, giving the next note its power. We see that challenges are not interruptions to our journey, but accents that bring meaning to the melody. And suddenly, life doesn't feel like something happening to us. It feels like something happening through us. Think about the moments when you were lost, uncertain, maybe even broken. At the time, it felt like chaos. But looking back, doesn't it almost feel orchestrated? The person you've become, the resilience, the strength, the compassion, was shaped in those very moments. The pieces connect, even when you can't see the pattern at first. That's what focus allows us to do. It invites us to see not just the moment, but the movement, not just the note, but the song. There is a tendency in our world to rush, to move from one distraction to the next, filling the silence so we don't have to feel it. But the truth is, the silence is where the symphony reveals itself most clearly. If you listen closely, you can almost sense it, the invisible thread weaving your experiences into something purposeful. The people you met by chance who changed your direction, the failure that forced you to grow, the setback that became the very reason you could step forward later. None of these things were wasted, none of them meaningless. And here's the remarkable part: you are not separate from this design. You are not just an observer of the music. You are part of the sound, your choices, your presence, your story. They reverberate far beyond what you realize. Every time you choose to focus instead of scatter your energy, every time you choose to value yourself instead of diminish your worth, you add clarity to your note in the symphony. And when you add clarity, you don't just elevate yourself, you help tune the entire song of life. We live in a universe that thrives on connection. A tree doesn't grow in isolation. Its roots entangle with others. Its branches touch the sky. Its leaves feed the air you breathe. In the same way, your existence is not isolated. When you honor your place in this composition, you allow others to hear their own part more clearly. That's the power of focus. That's the beauty of valuing yourself, not as a separate being striving for survival, but as an integral voice in a larger harmony. So the next time you feel lost, remember, you're not lost. You're simply in a passage where the music softens before it swells again. The next time you feel small, remember, you are not a faint whisper. You are a note essential to the masterpiece. And the next time you doubt your worth, remember this: without you, the song of existence would be incomplete. Every note matters, and so do you. There's something remarkable about stillness, though most of us spend our lives running from it. We fill our days with noise-endless conversations, constant scrolling, background music, notifications, meetings, plans. Silence feels uncomfortable, almost threatening, as if by sitting with it too long we might hear something we've been avoiding. But here's the truth: It's in the quiet that life speaks the loudest. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It's the place where you finally notice what's been moving within you all along. Think back to a time when everything felt chaotic, when the world around you seemed to be spinning faster than you could catch your breath. In the middle of that storm, wasn't there a moment, even a brief one, where you found yourself pausing? Maybe in the car, maybe in bed late at night, maybe staring out a window. In that pause, for just a second, clarity peeked through. A thought, a realization, a feeling of direction. It wasn't something you found in the noise. It was something that found you in the stillness. We've been conditioned to believe that action is everything. That if we aren't moving, we're falling behind. But some of the greatest breakthroughs, personal, creative, spiritual, don't come from relentless motion. They come from listening. They come from noticing. They come when you create space for what you already carry inside to rise to the surface. Stillness is not empty. It's full of insight, full of answers you've been chasing in all the wrong places. When you learn to focus, when you allow yourself to value who you are, you begin to see that silence isn't wasted time. It's sacred time. Think about how the world itself works. The ocean moves in waves, crash, retreat, silence. The seasons rotate. Growth, harvest, stillness, rebirth. Even your own breath teaches the rhythm. Inhalation, exhalation, pause. Life itself is teaching us that stillness is not a void. It's a necessary part of the cycle. Without it, there is no rhythm. And here's where it becomes powerful. In stillness, the distractions fall away. You're no longer comparing yourself to everyone else. You're no longer chasing 1,000 different paths. You're simply present, and in that presence, you hear what matters. You hear what's been waiting for you beneath the surface of all the noise. You begin to realize that your value doesn't come from how much you're doing, how busy you appear, how loud your life looks from the outside. Your value is inherent. It's already there, and it reveals itself most clearly when you stop long enough to notice it. It's like tuning an instrument. If you keep playing without pause, without adjustment, eventually the music distorts. But in the silence, when you tighten the string, when you listen carefully, you bring it back into harmony. Stillness is the tuning of the soul. Without it, the symphony of your life becomes noise. With it, every note aligns. So when life feels overwhelming, when you feel scattered or uncertain, the answer isn't always to do more. Sometimes the answer is to stop, to breathe, to listen, because in that stillness, the truth you've been searching for is already waiting. The world will keep moving, the noise will always be there. But if you have the courage to step into the quiet, you'll discover that the silence you once feared is not emptiness. It's wisdom, and it's been calling your name all along. Silence is not nothingness. It is where everything begins. There's a moment in life when you realize that the way you see yourself has shaped every decision you've ever made. If you believe you're not enough, you shrink. You play small, you compromise your dreams before they've even had a chance to breathe. But when you begin to value yourself, not in an arrogant way, not in comparison to anyone else, but in recognition of your inherent worth, you unlock something profound. You stop waiting for the world to validate you, and you start walking as though your very existence is validation enough. We live in a culture that teaches us to measure value by achievement, by possessions, by how others perceive us. But none of those things actually touch the core of who you are. Strip away the job title, the social media followers, the awards, the recognition. What remains you do, and that you, unadorned and unmeasured, is enough. The fact that you're here, breathing, living, capable of thought and love, that alone carries immeasurable value. When you fail to see that, life begins to feel like an endless chase. You're always running after approval, always trying to prove yourself, always afraid of being left behind. But the truth is, the world doesn't need a version of you that fits its mold. It needs the authentic you, the one that only emerges when you decide that your worth isn't up for debate. Think about it. Every great innovation, every act of courage, every leap forward in history happened because someone believed in their own value enough to act. They weren't always the smartest in the room. They weren't always the most prepared, but they carried within them a conviction: I matter, what I bring matters. That conviction is what gave their actions power, and the same is true for you. Valuing yourself doesn't mean pretending you have no flaws. It means seeing those flaws as part of your depth, part of what makes you real, part of what gives you perspective that no one else can replicate. It means recognizing that your scars are not disqualifications, but reminders of battles survived. And survival in itself carries wisdom. The danger of undervaluing yourself is not just personal. It ripples outward. When you don't recognize your worth, you withhold your voice, your creativity, your contribution from the world. You play a smaller note in the symphony than you were meant to. But when you step into your value, when you own it fully, you give others permission to do the same. You light a path simply by being who you are without apology. There's something magnetic about a person who knows their worth. Not someone who boasts or pretends, but someone who quietly radiates a sense of groundedness, of self-respect, of inner clarity. They move differently. They choose differently. They don't settle for less, not because they're demanding, but because they understand that life responds to the energy you carry. And when you carry the energy of self, doors open, opportunities align, and people are drawn to collaborate with you. So the real question is not whether you're valuable. You are. The question is whether you'll believe it, whether you'll live as though it's true, because the moment you do, everything changes, your focus sharpens. Your decisions align, your voice strengthens, and the symphony of your life begins to sound the way it was always meant to. Your value is not something you earn. It's something you finally remember. When you look back at the hardest moments of your life, it's easy to see them as interruptions, as if they somehow derailed the path you were meant to walk. The heartbreak that shattered you, the failure that humiliated you, the loss that hollowed you out, all of it can feel like the universe turned against you. But if you sit with those memories long enough, a strange thing happens. You begin to see them differently. What once looked like destruction starts to look like construction. The obstacles weren't there to stop you. They were there to shape you. Every challenge carries within it a hidden gift. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort, and it rarely feels like a blessing at the time. But it chisels away at who you thought you were and reveals who you really are. Strength doesn't come from avoiding hardship. It comes from walking through it. Clarity doesn't come from perfect conditions. It comes from facing confusion until the fog clears. And resilience doesn't come from smooth roads. It's carved on the rocky ones. Think of the people who have inspired you the most. Were their lives flawless? No. What gave them depth was the way they met their challenges. They didn't crumble under the weight of failure. They allowed it to forge them. They didn't run from rejection. They learned from it. They didn't see obstacles as unfair punishment. They saw them as sacred teachers. That perspective made all the difference. Challenges strip away the illusions we cling to. They remove the comforts we mistake for stability. And in that stripping away, they force us to confront what's real. Who are you without the applause? Who are you when the plan falls apart? Who are you when everything external is taken from you? Those are the moments that reveal the core of your being, the place that no setback can destroy. And here's the paradox. The very moments we resist the most often become the ones we end up being most grateful for. The rejection letter that broke your heart might be the reason you discovered your true calling. The failure that embarrassed you might be the reason you built something better. The loss that left you aching might have opened your eyes to a depth of love you'd never known before. Life has a way of turning the stones that trip us into stepping stones, if we let it. When you start to view challenges not as enemies, but as necessary allies, you stop fearing them. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this here to teach me?" That single shift transforms suffering into meaning, and meaning transforms everything. This doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means you begin to walk with a different posture. Instead of resisting the storms, you learn to stand in them with a kind of quiet strength. Instead of letting obstacles define you, you let them refine you. And once you've been refined, no one can take that from you. The truth is, you are more than what happens to you. You are the one who rises in response. Every challenge is an invitation to become more of who you're meant to be. And if you accept that invitation, you discover that obstacles were never blocking your path. They were building it. The challenge is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your becoming. There are times in life when it feels like we're drifting, as though we've been set adrift on an endless sea with no compass, no map, no sense of where the shore might be. We make plans, we chase goals, and yet so often things don't unfold the way we expect. We're delayed, redirected, sometimes even brought to a complete halt. And in those moments, it's tempting to believe we've lost our way. But what if the detours weren't mistakes? What if they were directions? What if the pauses weren't setbacks, but timing, working on a scale we can't yet see? Life has a rhythm to it, a current that carries us even when we think we're standing still. Call it destiny, call it divine order, call it the invisible thread it's there. The things you've gone through, the people you've met, the doors that opened just when you needed them, and the ones that closed before you were ready, they all form part of that design. You may not see it in the moment, but when you look back, you can trace the path and realize it wasn't random. You were being guided all along. Think of the moments when something didn't work out the way you wanted. At the time, it felt like rejection, it felt like failure, but looking back, haven't there been times when you realized that what seemed like an ending was really a beginning? That the door that closed was simply redirecting you to the one you were always meant to walk through? There's a precision to life that often only reveals itself in hindsight, and when you start to trust that precision, you begin to walk differently. You stop needing every answer up front. You stop demanding that every chapter make sense before it's finished. You start allowing yourself to live with curiosity instead of control, with openness instead of resistance. And in that openness, life has room to surprise you, because sometimes the most extraordinary things come from the paths you never would have chosen for yourself. There's something liberating about realizing you don't have to force everything. You don't have to push and pull and fight to make every piece of life bend to your will. You have to act, yes. You have to show up, to do the work, to make the decisions. But you also have to trust. Trust that when you've given your best, the rest is being orchestrated in ways far beyond your imagination. It's like looking at a painting too closely. All you see are brush strokes, rough and uneven. Step back and suddenly the picture emerges. Life works the same way. Up close, it feels chaotic, full of contradictions and detours, but step back and you see the artistry. You see how every brush stroke, every joy, every pain, every delay was necessary to create the whole. So when you feel lost, don't assume you're off course. You may be exactly where you're supposed to be, gathering the strength, the wisdom, the resilience you'll need for the next chapter. When life slows you down, don't assume you've fallen behind. You may be right on time, and when things fall apart, don't assume the story is ending. It may be just beginning. The deeper you live, the more you realize your life isn't a series of accidents. It's a masterpiece unfolding, one scene at a time. And your role isn't to control the masterpiece, it's to participate in it with trust, with presence, with courage. Every detour, every delay, every loss is not misdirection. It is guidance in disguise. There comes a point when you realize life is not something happening around you. It's something happening through you. Too often, we stand on the sidelines, treating existence like a spectacle, waiting for meaning to reveal itself, waiting for someone else to show us the way. But life is not a performance you watch. It's a dance you are invited into. And the moment you choose to step onto that floor with intention, everything changes. Focusing and valuing yourself isn't about isolation or ego. It's about alignment. When you align with who you truly are, when you live from a place of worth, you stop moving against the current. You begin moving with it. Life starts to feel less like a battle and more like a rhythm. Suddenly, opportunities connect, people appear, and the dots start joining themselves, not because the world outside shifted, but because you stepped into harmony with it. Think of how an orchestra works. Each musician could play their part independently, but the magic only happens when they listen to one another, when their notes rise and fall together, when they surrender their individual sound to the greater composition. Your life works the same way. You are not here to play every instrument. You are here to play your note fully, clearly, with courage, and when you do, the entire symphony becomes more complete. But here's the catch. You cannot play your note if you don't value yourself. If you believe you don't matter, you hold back. If you believe your voice doesn't carry weight, you silence it. And when you do that, not only do you rob yourself, you rob the world. Because without your contribution, the composition is missing something essential. Your presence, your perspective, your story. It all matters more than you realize. To live as a conscious participant in this dance means no longer waiting for permission. It means no longer apologizing for existing, no longer doubting the role you've been given. It means showing up fully, whether that's in your work, your relationships, your creativity, or simply the way you treat the stranger standing next to you. Every action, no matter how small, is part of the choreography. Every choice adds movement to the dance, and what's beautiful is that this isn't about perfection. Dancers stumble, musicians miss notes, but they keep moving, they keep playing, and the performance continues. The same is true for you. The mistakes don't remove you from the dance. They make you part of it. What matters is that you remain engaged, that you keep stepping forward with presence, with openness, with faith that the rhythm will catch you again. When you live this way, you begin to notice something profound. Life is not something you're separate from. You are not an outsider observing a grand design. You are inside of it, woven into it, inseparable from it. You are a thread in the fabric, a note in the song, a movement in the dance. And when you honor that role, when you focus and vow, you yourself enough to live it fully, you don't just transform your own experience. You transform the experience of everyone around you. So stop waiting on the sidelines. Step into the rhythm that has been waiting for you all along. Because the truth is, you were never meant to be an observer. You were meant to be a creator, a participant, a living expression of the universe itself. Life is not a dance you watch. It is a dance you are here to lead.